Oof. Is that not beautiful? Look at this. Is that gorgeous or what? We got a lot going on today. As you can see as an example here on my table, you're wondering, Carrie, what in the world are we doing today? Several examples because I loved this earring so much that I made 3 or 4 pairs yesterday, and I just had to show you. I was, you're doing this on your phone. You're scrolling, and I came across a I think it was a reel. No, you call them shorts. I always get that wrong. A short on YouTube, and it was a short clip of the movie with Meryl Streep, The Devil Wears Prada, and she was wearing these lovely earrings. I'm going to put up a picture here where you can see what I'm talking about. She was wearing these lovely earrings in this movie, and they really stood out in the clip. And I was like, my girls and I can make that. We can make a dupe version of that earring. As you can see, this is as close as I could come to it. I did it in silver with these lemon drop quartz beads, and then I also just did some different varieties of it. As you can see, as you saw in the example, she had somewhere along the top, there is also some smaller diamonds, it seems like it was, and also on the part that goes into the ear. So in this example with copper, this is green aventurine, and then I just wire wrapped a smaller bead at the top to kind of echo at that. So I thought that was cool. I also did it with, this is blue mystic topaz, which I thought that complemented the copper so well. And of course, amethyst complements copper always. So lovely. And I have found in the past, like here is some examples of some wrapped briolettes that I had made, and I don't know about you, but I just find this really frustrating. If you get one little wrap that is off and it doesn't line up correctly, and I was looking for a new way, a different way to attach a briolette into a piece of jewelry. So that's where these, and I saw that clip of that movie. I was like, that's how I can do a briolette. And my fashionista husband saw this and he's like, oh, this would be great as a pendant. And I'm like, honey, you were so wonderful. So he was so correct. That would be a great pendant with some matching earrings with that. So this is what this one specifically is what we're going to make with the copper and blue mystic topaz. Get your stuff ready, get it all out. We're going to need everything. These were rejects. They kind of look cute on the surface, right? Then you look at them a little further and they kind of look like eggplants, if you know what I mean. Haha, so we're not using those. We're going to go with that other style that I showed you in the beginning. And I have a couple pieces of, this is 16 gauge wire that is cut into 3-inch lengths. So get yourself 2 of these. You'll need a ruler. I told you need everything. I wanted to tell you also, this ruler, because it's a vintage ruler, you would not believe how expensive these are. So I just happened to look up vintage forestry rulers, and ridiculous. It's ridiculous. One of them was $78, and I don't know who pays that ridiculous kind of money. Nobody. I'm hoping nobody. Okay, so I've got, I just had to tell you that. So little buddy here, our little Smokey the Bear ruler will stay with me. I'm placing this right, and it doesn't matter where. I just need to put it in between some inch marks, so I can find the middle. And look what I'm using. Round nose pliers, which I told you I hardly ever use, but I do. And I'm going to show you just a second. Let me get this on here. I'm going to show you why I'm using that. Where'd our little buddy go? There's this little opening that is going to be at the top that our ear wire is going to go through. And I want the tiniest little area that I can get. So these round nose pliers from Xuron have the tiniest little end. So I am putting it right on the middle and just bending around so the ends meet. I'm looking through the camera and I'm like, what is going on here? Because I think one end is a little bit longer than the other. Not a problem. Bend it out again. Bend it out again and then just push the side that was a little longer. The light that's causing a problem and I can't tell because my one end was a little bent down, so it was making the light on it funny. That's a little better. It's a little better. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the other one. I am not going on to the next step because so many times I'll go through this and then I'll start on the other steps of the earring and then I'll go to the other one and then they don't match because your lengths weren't the same or you didn't get it bent right in the middle, blah, 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 blah. So you want to do these two together first and make sure they match. Now, if they're not, they don't end up being, the exact 3 inches cut in half, it's not a big deal. We just want them to be the same. So I do have just the tiniest fraction of an end, and I'm going to just snip that off so it's even. Take a look at this and see. It's just the tiniest little fraction. Just so that they're the same. It's nothing worse than making all these earrings and then they're not the same. Horrid. Horrid when you spend all that time. But you thought that I was only going to use round nose pliers. You didn't think you were going to see the bail pliers, did you? Haha, here it is. My favorite tool, 6-step bail making pliers. And you're like, how are you using this, Carrie? Well, let me show you. Down in the center, down in this part right here, is this wonderful area that I use to clamp things because it just tends not to slide out. So that's what we're going to use. It works better, I find, than flat nose pliers or chain nose pliers or anything like that. It's not going anywhere. It is locked in to that little spot. Let's see if I got that close enough. I think that's a good spot. I think that's a good enough amount to put the ear wires through. Let's do the other one so we get it first so we get it matching. That is the key with earrings. Going back to this, my little buddy. Just pinching that closed. Let's see how we are. Pretty good. This one could use just the smidge. Now, are you going to be able to tell that when that's hanging on your ear? No. But let me get it just a little bit. Okay. Now that we have this, you're going to take some chain nose pliers. And we just need to get these sitting next to each other. Because they are, at this moment, they're kind of going all over the place because it bent them together. We just need to get them sitting side by side. And you're just going to bend it around a little bit so they're sitting next to each other. Well, this one's already wanting to turn into a pair of earrings. It's the same kind of motion. Remember in a few videos ago and we were making these connector loops and sometimes they splay out and I said get your chain nose pliers on there and just wiggle it around. For some reason it makes it stay together. I don't know. It's weird. You just want that sitting. It doesn't matter too much on the very end because we're going to be sitting, bending it outwards anyway. I think that's going to do for that. Now, still using our bail pliers, this is what I found that made a nice little bend. Where's our example? This nice little bend on the end. Take your bail pliers. Sometimes I'm looking through the camera and then I'm looking with my eyeballs and I'm getting all twisted up. It seems like we're going to be using this 7mm part of the bale ply, but we're actually going to be wrapping backwards over the 9mm and just putting kind of a little bend like that in there. Turning over, sliding it over the 7mm and bending backwards over the 9. Let's start with that. Let's leave it that and then do the other one. Getting it right in there as close to the end as possible and bending back over the 6th step, the 9mm part of the bale. What was I doing? Okay, this way. Oh my word, what is wrong with me? Okay. It's like that. Right on the end. And bending backwards. See how it matches up with the other one. That's not too bad. Those are pretty equal. Now we're going to do some hammering. First, what you can do is strengthen this some with your nylon pliers. Always need some strength in your earrings. Just going to work hard in it a little bit. And now, as you can see, I keep throwing my example away. I put some, I don't know if you can see that as I move it around, some hammering on there. I always love some light hammering. Just adds sparkle and reflection. It's just a lovely detail that doesn't cost anything. You don't need a bead to make the sparkle, the flash of light. After we work harden our ear parts here, we're going to flatten the ends. Flatten this a little bit too. Okay, now that we've just got a nice beginning to the flat part of our earring here, now we're going to add the texture. This is totally up to you how much you want. I think I want to try to get this pretty flat, pretty spread out some more, so I'm going to hit it some more. It's a finesse thing. Hammering and trying for the texture is a finesse thing. Now my shape has changed a little bit, so I'm going to get my bale pliers out. I think this one needs to come out a little bit more. Remember, I'm bending back over this, the largest step, the 9mm step. This is all finessing. I really like it to come together, so I'll pinch it back over itself a little bit, so that it makes this channel in a way. Many of you have asked about this. I mentioned this in several videos ago, but since then, several people have asked, like, where do you get that? This is from Marshall's, honey. This is from Target or any place that sells manicure kits or things where you, like if you sand down your nails or whatever, or you're filing your nails. That's all this is. And it comes with its own little tips to, like if you're doing your manicure, but it works on copper and silver and all your craft wire just to sand things down. Plus it has a little nifty little light on it. See how this one's not quite as big as the other one? I want to hammer that out even more. And this is total the finesse part. You are going to have to tinker with this until you get it just the way you want it. That's a little better. I think that works. And all that took was a few little hammer hits, and it's exactly where I want it. And if you can see, I'll take the little stone. And you can see, whoop, it's like a watermelon seed. It can sit right in there. it's going to be absolutely perfect. Okay, let's hammer out the next one. I've already flattened it. Now I'm going to add texture. This one needs to come together a little bit. Kind of works like a jump ring when you need to move it past the joint point so that it comes together a little tighter. Of course, I see a lot that I'm going to have to adjust on this, and that's just the way the metal is. All right, I'm going to bend this out some more. Definitely going to have to do some filing. Oops, sorry about that. I think I'm going to leave that one. Now, this is where the filing is really going to come in handy, so you can get a matching shape on the end here. Anything that's sticking out, you want to get that out of there. You want to be sharp, but you don't want to match it. All right, let me see here. It's not quite exact. This one splays out a little bit more. Let me see what I could do to fix that. I'm going to try just going like this, making it bend a little bit more. A little better. Let me just pinch this back a little bit. And there we go, just about. Now I got it bent out, it's too much. We're going to work with that. Plus, when you'll see once we start getting these little stones in there, it's going to move these wires around anyway. I think this is a great start. All right, let's start wire wrapping your briolette of choice. This is a tip about choosing. What do I choose? I would not choose one that it's like real fat. Okay, so like this one was a little bit harder because it was such a big one this way. And you really had to accommodate the width of the stone. I chose 24 gauge. I kind of experimented with, because you could see like this one had a hole enough that was big enough it could take a 22 gauge. I don't know, started not to like it. I kind of like 24 gauge for wrapping stones. I don't like thinner because then then you risk breakage. Before I start wrapping, I just really want to make sure that this is going to fit in there well. And I think as I started looking at the stone in this, I think it needs to be, you see the drill hole. I hope you can see that drill hole. I'm looking at that. That's kind of my guide point. I'm looking at where do I want that drill hole to sit. And I just think I want this frame. I want this frame opened up a little bit more. So I'm just using this to press it open, giving myself a little more room. I think that's what I want. And you can discover this, how much that you're going to need for your stone. You might have to open it some more. That's okay. You got to be able to work with what you have. I think those are right. And let me check. I'm looking at this little drill hole. Yeah, I think that's going to sit in there really nicely. Okay, I'm going to get 22 gauge. I find that this works the best. 26 is a little too thin. 22 is just a little too big. So this is, Baby Bear's version. Get 6 to 8 inches, just enough that you can work with. You could probably work with less, but why struggle? You don't need to. First, you're also going to make sure whatever stone you're using that your wire fits through. Oh my, I didn't use 24 gauge. Dun dun dun. Well, I can still save this. I'm like, why isn't this going in here? The 24 gauge is what I want. That's what fits. And how in the world, where did this come from? I didn't even get this out. I don't know. Who knows? See, the 22 gauge is a little too big. Get yourself a length. Let's have some fun, okay? 6 to 8 inches. This is way even more than that, probably. I don't know if that's going to fit. You see that little tiny kink? These drill holes don't like tiny kinks. Oh, but that worked. That worked. Sometimes you need your chain nose pliers to help pull it through. But I got a kink in there. See, I don't like the kinks. Stones don't like the kinks. No. Okay, I also want you to notice there really is a front side. A front side and a back side of the stone. On the back side, the stones are very close. But if you turn around on this side, you don't really even see the drill holes. Got to be careful with the stone so I don't break it. Bringing the stone to the center, or thereabouts, something like that. And we're going to pull up our sides, making a V. I worked through this multiple ways, and I found that this works the best for mounting this stone. Okay, so you saw I picked it up and I turned it. That's because I do want the backside. I want to mount from the backside. I am going to hold firmly to the frame and this side of the 24 gauge and probably a little bit of this stone too. And I'm going to start wrapping maybe 5 wraps. 5 wraps on this side. You can do more. You definitely want it to be secure, because it is only 24 gauge wire. Why? I don't know. I just feel like a little more wraps would be good. And I'm checking the back, checking the front, making sure that the wraps are nice and even. I tend to not use the chain nose pliers when pulling and getting a stronger wrap because then I kink my wire. So I really do try to use my hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that is 5. Now I have 5. I will use my chain nose pliers just to squeeze them together. Make a little stacked wraps there. Get it nice and neat. And pinch down a little bit. Okay. Turning so that it looks like this. You're holding firmly in between this end of the frame. You're holding a little bit of the stone. All this goodness on that side so that this is free. And I'm going to put 5 matching wraps on this side. Checking the front. Yep. There was 2. I'm making 3. 4. And how many is that on that side? 5. Okay. I don't know if you ladies have this issue that when I focus on looking at something, my eyes go la, 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 and then I can't see what I'm looking at. This is absolutely perfect. I got to trim this. I don't know if you ladies have this issue. I get this part of trimming makes me nervous. I'm like, I don't want to trim. What if I need is wire for something? And you see I had plenty. Maybe you could get away with 5 inches or so. There we go. Being gentle with that wire. That 24 gauge wire is very tender and will mar very easily. But you can always polish it up. And a look at that. One other little step. is that I might just gently push down so that it kind of centers it in to the earring. It kind of works like a couple videos ago I did one on making this ring. And at some point at the end, you put the ring onto the mandrel and you really pull it down tight and it locks everything in. And that's what I feel like this does. When you press down on the sides, it's locking in those wraps. They're good and tight, and there's just even a little bit of movement in the stone. I'm just going to make sure this is good. Very nice, very nice. All right, let's make the next one. Let's make sure, remember how our other stone definitely had a front or back. This is not perfectly drilled, but we're gonna make it work. It looks to be both are pretty similar, so we can just wrap this however. Remember bringing it to the center of our wire and then making kind of like a V shape here. This is going to help get that wire already into the direction that we want. Flipping to the back side, placing that in between our little frame there that we made together. So much fun. And I'm holding the frame, I'm holding this piece of 24 gauge wire and really holding a little bit of the stone too, so that all I have really free is this side of the 24 gauge wire. I'm going to put 5 wraps to match, all the while keeping it nice and neat. How far up do I have that one? This one needs to go up a little bit, and you need to look at that as well. All I did was push the wraps up so it could be kind of in the same place. 1, 4, and 5. Pinch in that. Let's see if it kind of is in the same. It needs to go up some more. Now, is my stone going to fit? That is the question. Yes. I think that will be just fine. Still a little bit more. It slid down a little bit. Open up that frame a little bit. Make sure it's going to have enough room for that stone. Turning and holding all that's on the left nice and firmly. Really looking at that stone. I want it to sit nicely there. Okay. 5 wraps to match. That was 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me pinch real quick before I do this last one. And I think I just saw a piece of my fingernail fly, like scratched the edge of that. This is smooth, but you want to make sure that's nice and blunt. Okay. Now, before I snip, let me look. Is this in generally the same place? Generally the same place, for real. Just pinch it up a little bit. And now I think it is that nerve-wracking time of clipping off the excess. Oh my goodness. I hope you didn't hear that laughing. My daughter I don't know what she's watching. She does homeschooling, so she's done with her classes this morning, and she's getting ready to go do her nanny job. So she's a senior. Doing well. Wants to go into the military like her big brother. A little nerve-wracking for her mother. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing I did at the end of this one, just to tighten everything up. I'm just gently pressing down on these wings, the side wings, and it's going to really tighten up all this wrapping so that sits in there. Oof. Is that not beautiful? Look at this. Is that gorgeous or what? Now, is it exactly like Miranda's from that movie that she was in? No, it's not exactly, but it's definitely inspired. It's definitely lovely. I typically use 20 gauge wire for ear wires, and I always just use the same style. I have not ventured out in discovering other styles of ear wires, but you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe one of these days I'll get a little more daring and creative with the ear wires. No, I still need the wire carry. Let me flush cut that before I clip that. And that one as well. I had so much fun making these earrings, and I have a lot of briolettes, and man, they just get on my nerves. So when I saw those earrings that Meryl Streep was wearing in The Devil Wears Prada, I was like, oh yes, I have found another way to mount briolettes in earrings and whatnot. First step, it's 2 millimeters. I'm going to make this first little part, this first loop, this is what attaches actually to the earring. I was totally not in this shot. I am so sorry. I'm using the first step, making a little loop. This is the loop that attaches to right into this little spot that we made. Turning our pliers down like that, and I'm going to be wrapping around this fifth step, which is 7 millimeters. Just wrap around until it just touches that first loop, and let it bounce back. If you just do that, then they'll all be the same. I do not make 2 ear wires at once. I just don't like doing that. I'm going to use the second step, 3 millimeters, just to put the little boop on the end. Right to the edge. I mean, you don't want to see it or feel it. The closer you get to the edge, the more of an actual boomerang that you'll get. Hold on. Long way to go. Found it. I tell you, just a mess, just a mess. Now I got fuzz on it. Oh my goodness, Butterfingers today. Speaking of Butterfingers, I had a lovely mention from another lovely YouTuber, Butterworth the Syrup, mentioned me on one of his videos last week. That also features my son. I have a link for it in my community page, community tab, if you want to look at that. Using the second step, just to put that little bloop on the end. One little other step I'll do. I really like the way this looks is when you flatten out this end that goes into the ear wire. I mean, into your ear. And then using this handy dandy, let me get down there. I'll just soften out the end just a little bit. We don't need any rough scratchies going into our ears. Nice and smooth. Chain nose pliers to open this up, finding our front side of our ear ring, and closing the loop. Open the loop. Let's see, that's the wrong side, so I got to turn it around, slide our earring on. And there we have a wonderful movie-inspired earring. And what's other great about it is that it's a great way to attach briolettes without having to wrap them like this. So put this into your arsenal of ways to attach briolettes, ways to make your earrings, and a great way to make a statement. As always, I appreciate you being here, and I so appreciate you watching to the end of the video. You have no idea how that does so well for my channel. I'm looking to get monetized, and the more watch hours I get, the better. So the best ways to say thank you is just being here with me to the end of the video, making some wonderful jewelry together. I appreciate, love your comments, and I thank you for being here. I am already looking forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day.